session will have it being recorded so that we can always make reference to it in case we have any other questions on it. So as an introduction, I'll start with this quote. It is always better to be up to date with your taxes. And this was one of the tips that I shared in the month of May as we discussed taxes as part of the Finance Gem Daily Tips. Why will I say that? Like we say, every tax is backed by authority, which mostly is in the form of a law, and ignorance of the law is no excuse. So as an individual, as a business organization, as a sole proprietor, it's better for you to know what taxes are applicable to your operations and if you are up to date with it. Aside taxes, we discussed the normal taxes, the indirect, the personal, and the non-personal. We did a bit of withholding taxes. We did something on personal release. Then we went further to discuss VAT. Yes, so we spend much of our time on VAT. So VAT, as it's shortly called, is a form of what? Indirect tax applicable to certain goods and services. So here the key word is certain goods and services. So VAT is not applicable to all goods and services. Then as part of withholding tax, VAT is also an example, a clear example of withholding tax, which organizations and individuals will have to withhold and later remit to the government. So one will ask, we have a lot of taxes. How come we are picking VAT for these sessions? Two things. Quite recently, we had an amendment for those of us in Ghana to our VAT Act. So we have the new Amendment Act 948, which brought about so many changes. And for the timing, I thought it appropriate that since it is effective 1st May, our first filing based on this new VAT will be 1st May. So this will be good as individuals, as organizations, as sole proprietors. It will help us understand how we are going to do our VAT filing for the month of May. So what we've put together is we are looking at what the various sessions or what the amendment is saying. We have a practical situation where we'll pick a transaction and see how we can file our VAT. And for us to discuss this, I have no other person than Isaac Boama. Boama is an ACCA qualification finalist with over 10 years experience in accounting practice. He consults for pharmaceuticals, beverages, paints, key distributors, and across other industry. His experiences cut across financial statement preparation and auditing for his clients as well. And one key thing is he also works on filing of VAT and other tax returns like CIT, PIT. That's the corporate income tax and the personal income tax for this industry. He was a senior accountant with Palm Pharmaceutical Limited, but currently with Eduamwa Associates, which is a chartered and management accountant consulting firm. Isaac can be reached on the below email, which we will also make available after the presentation. Isaac Boama, you're welcome. Hello, Boama. Hello, Boama. If you can hear me, you can take it up from here.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you, Isaac.
You can hear me. Thank you, Jemima, for the introduction, and thank you for the wonderful time with the wonderful people out there. Then it's a very good evening from Ghana, and those of us who are in the Far East, I think you are ahead of us. And then it will be a morning by this time, an afternoon somewhere. So wherever you are, it's a warm welcome to Finance Gem section. And in a tax month, as it has been indicated earlier on the platform, it's very interesting to know the new development in the tax section, precisely the VAT, which we normally call value-added tax. Value-added tax. Hello. Yes. I think I have a little challenge with my network here.
We
Can you
can hear
hear me,
you
Jemima?
perfectly.
Sure,
Yes,
sure.
I
Thank
can
you
hear
very much.
you.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
Thank
good.
you very much. So I think over the week, there were some important information regarding who qualifies to register for the VAT, what the VAT is all about, and we will uh, focus primarily on value added tax, VAT scheme, because of the new development. But the question is, how can you know that your business is in the category of a retailer or a wholesaler? So I'll just take us through certain important information that you need to know about what pertains to the Act 948, the Amendment Act 2017 Act 870, which also gave birth to the Amendment Act 948. The 948 begins with the registration requirement. You cannot be a tax person or taxable person when you have not registered with the domestic tax authority. So briefly, I will just take you through what is required of you as an individual who has established a business and why you are supposed to register with the tax authorities. In Ghana, we say GNRA. So with GNRA, with the Ghana Revenue Authority, they have agencies called Domestic Tax Revenue Division. In abbreviation, we just know them as DTRD. They are available in every suburb or region, or if you call it, a district offices, where registration begins with any taxable person who is engaged in a taxable activity. So now we are looking at who is a taxable person. Now, a taxable person is a retailer or a wholesaler of goods who also account for VAT payable under this scheme section at a flat rate, which was previously 3% and now is 4%. And then it's calculated on the value of the taxable supply. So how do you know that the supply you make is taxable? Is it everything like Jimama did in the introduction? Is it everything that is taxable or not? So we see that under the section 6 to section 16 of the Act 870, we will say that a taxable activity also means an activity which is carried out by a person in the country or partly in the country, where whether or not for a pecuniary profit that involves or is intended to involve in whole or in part the supply of goods or services to another person for consideration. An example of taxable activity. What are some of the examples of taxable activities? It includes, but not limited to, sales, transfer, licensing of patents, make gifts, loan of goods, leasing or letting of goods on hire, any form of betting or gaming, including lotteries and gaming machines, export of non-traditional products, etc. These can be found in the section 21 to 23. So if you want to know the detail of all the taxable activities, then you can just check on this. Because there's a full list there. It comes with a schedule, which are always subject to amendment, depending on what the legislation instrument at the time. So we have looked at this, and then we also briefly look into what really defines your business. What really defines your business simply means that when you go to register of companies, they will ask you a category of business you really want to engage in. For instance, it's commonly reported that a lot of people in Ghana and then in Africa, and for that matter, those who are in the supply chain, before a product can get to a final consumer, where do you place yourself? This can be found in the retail or wholesale section. So if you are a retailer or a wholesaler of goods, and you are selling and registered, then we will say that a retail, according to Black Law Dictionary, we have to know our source, what really defines a retail, so that your business, you can actually know that, fine, Once I'm registered or about to register, then I'll fall under a category of a retail or wholesale. So let's begin with the retail. So we say a retail simply means to sell by small parcels and not in the gross, to sell in small quantities. As the case law give example, States versus Loving Hot. In the Black Laws Dictionary, a retailer is refers to a person. Now we come to a retailer. You say you're a retailer. If you're a retailer, then this is what it says. It's a person or a business selling goods to the public as agent, against a person or businesses selling to another business for resale. You are selling for resale. Then you fall into that category. Then what about wholesale? A wholesale also is a person or individual who sell by wholesale to sell by large parcel, generally in original packages and not by retail. These are what the definition also refers to in the dictionary of Black Laws. So the Black Law gives a clear distinction between a retailer and wholesaler. And these categories are the category of businesses which the VAT flat rate scheme is focused on, and clearly spelled out in the Amendment Act 948. So if you say you have not registered now, we will come to that session, and by the time I finish with this presentation, you appreciate the fact that your contribution to tax payment is very, very important when you start doing business, or if you are in business, you start go and register with the tax authorities. So we are also looking at certain supplementary information. For instance, there have been an introduction of electronic system, which they say integrated compliance information system. Essentially, it defines the wholesale and then the retailers. When they are wholesaling goods by law to the public, to personal household for consumption, for utilization. This ISCIS, which is the integrated compliance system, by January, has also come out clear to support the Black Law definition of a retailer. So we are saying, in effect, that there are certain category of people who cannot say that they are not included within the remit of the new Amendment Act. For instance, we can include people within retailing shop, department stores, mall order houses, door-to-door salespersons, hawkers, peddlers, consumer cooperatives, auction houses, and etc. These are available information per the amendment. So if we chance on doing any of these things or engage in any activity under this category, then you qualify as a taxable person because you engage in an activity which will result in a consideration, earning profit, and earning income. So we also look at certain aspects of the Act which does not include certain kind of businesses. Businesses like manufacturers and service providers. We know business of manufacturers, they are on the standard rates scheme, which is SRS. So here, they don't chance to fall under this category. So if you're a manufacturer, you have been prescribed by the amendment that you're automatically involved in the for application of standard rate scheme for the Amendment Act in Ghana. If you're not in Ghana, probably you can refer to the IRS or the Revenue Authorities section, which actually define where you actually work as a manufacturer. So here, for instance, the service providers, by virtue of their activity, they are also under 17.5, which was before the amendment. Now it's 18.5. I'll come to that to explain the difference of the 1% to that one. But because we are primarily focusing on this, I just want to just have a quick look at what we have to do so that there will be a follow-up call. And then whatever you want to discuss with us, you also answer and then listen to you as well. Now we are looking at the scope. Let's look at the scope. Now the scope of VAT rate scheme, the VAT flat rate. The VAT flat rate, what is the scope? What does it cover? Number one, this includes the supply of all taxable goods, except the supply of any forms of power, heat, refrigeration, ventilation, per Section 1B of the Amendment Act 2017, Act 948. So we are looking at all these things per the Amendment Act, so that if you chance to know this, you do the right thing and get the right information and act accordingly to avoid any consequences of penalties, interest, and the non-compliance charges. Now you also look at B, all other provisions relating to supply of goods under the VAT Act 2013, Act 870, and LI 2243 shall apply appropriately to VAT rate scheme. So we are looking at key features. So as it display on the screen, we are looking at key features of it. So we look at this, and then as we discuss, look into your business, how you are positioning yourself to the Amendment Act so that you avoid charges and penalties. Now, I also say C, point number C, say, those registered under VAT flat rate scheme are not entitled to input tax credit as provided for in Section 48(7)(a) of Act 70 as amended by VAT Act 947 as follows. Now we say that a taxable person to whom subsection 2 of the 3 applies does not qualify for input tax deductions in respect of supply of goods. Does not. That is the emphasis. You do not qualify to claims, input claims. What is input claims? You come to input claims. Input claims are same as purchases. If I should put it that way, it's purchases because we buy before we sell. Those who are under VAT flat rate, they are not entitled to any of these. Then we look at the D part of it, which all say that under the Amendment Act 948, wholesalers and retailers of tobacco goods were registered to operate standard rate scheme. They are automatically converted to the VAT flat rate scheme from 10% now to 4%. So if, for instance, for some reasons you were holding on to your business because you were having some challenges with activities, or you were thinking of you continue in future, and you register under standard rate scheme, which was previous 17.5, now it's 18.5. You automatically, you don't need to go to the DTRD, which is the Domestic Tax Revenue Division, to go and say that you want to register under the VAT rate scheme. Automatically, you are moved. The only important thing you have to note here is that you have to comply with the VAT flat rate scheme. That is the section of the amendment, which is applicable to everyone engaged in retail and wholesale business. Everyone engaged in retail and wholesale business. So we have to take note of this. Now, how different is this from VAT? I think we have looked at claims and all those things, so I won't delve into those things. So we follow what we have here concerning how the VAT rate scheme it works. Then we look at the next step, how it works. We have looked at the features. We have looked at now we are looking at how it works. Now how VAT rate scheme works. The VAT rate scheme works. How does it work? That is the practical approach now. You want to see the practical approach, how it works, for an illustration purposes. Let's see how it works. For instance, if I'm working as a business entity, and then, for instance, let me take Gem Finance Company Limited as a case study or as an illustration. Previously, we were working on 3%, and I buy goods at 100 Ghana cedi. The goods will cost me 100 Ghana cedi, which is displayed on the information on the screen. Now, I bought goods costing me 100 Ghana cedi. at 3%. We are looking at 3% now. We are looking at 3% because for those who will be filing this month, which is May, you owe previous month, which is April. April returns to be filed in May. So you are still supposed to file 3% until we end May, where the 4% will apply. So I'm just making this information available to you that you still have to file at 3% if you have not filed your April returns. So your April returns, you are just giving an illustration that the scenario 1 on the screen was giving us information as to the cost or the cost price of the goods, which is 100 Ghana cedi. Then you add your input tax. Input tax, the 17.5, where you can never claim, that I mentioned as part of the features of the VAT flat rate scheme. You can never claim this input tax from your return form from Domestic Tax Authority Division. You can never claim with 17.5. Then you get 17.5 as the VAT which has been charged on the product. Then you go to a total amount. You add the sum together. The 100 plus 17.5 will give you 117.7.50. Sorry for my eyes. 117.50. Then you apply value addition. Value added. This is not value added. This is not value added. This is where a lot of companies get it wrong. Now I think this is the practical scenario I'm so much interested, because this one will go into your form. The form you'll be filling to declare the liability you owe at the end of the month for taxable supply. This is the column that you have to take a keen interest, so that if a consultant here, like Gem Finance, is giving you this opportunity, you can save money if you're able to apply this principle correctly. So that at least if the Gem is coming to help and support you, it will be a small fee, because already he's giving you the information now. This is the information you need handy so far as your business is concerned. Otherwise, your cash flow is going to be affected. It will impact negatively on your cash flow if it's not working right. So first, you buy the goods at 100. You add input VAT, which is explicitly added by 17.5. You get a total sum of 117.75. Then you come to the value addition. This is your margin. So let's get it right here. This is your margin plus other overheads. You'll be engaging labor, you'll be engaging a lot of people, you'll be buying electricity. How do you factor all those things in to become part of your operation cost? These are the things that a lot of companies are not getting it right. So here, you add your margins plus your other overheads, which sum up to 10%. Then you apply it on the total sum of 117. That's there, so you get an amount of 775. 11.75. 11, that is 11.75. Then you come back to the taxable value. So this will be the taxable value, which is 125.25. Sorry, 129.25. That will be the taxable value. You see the addition there. So you'll be adding 1 I plus II plus III. III. You see? And they sum up to 129.25. Then you apply your VAT rate, the flat rate, which is 3%. So the 3% is going to give me 3.88. It's going to give me 3.88. So this is the VAT you are going to add to the product, which is costing you plus your margin 129.25. Then you charge your VAT 3.3% straight on the amount. Then you get 133.13, and that becomes your selling price. So this is the amount you are going to invoice per the cost of your product to the final consumer. If you are a retailer and wholesaler come to you, this one applies. If you are a retailer and you are the final distributor or the final arbiter that is going to send the goods to the final consumer, you also apply this 4%. So from Finance Gem, This is how we are going to invoice you. If you are buying a goods, we are going to invoice you 133.13. And then it comes to filing. We are going to file our VAT fast rate scheme, our returns at the end of the month. We are in April, assuming today is April, because we are applying the 3%, which is April, not in May. Let's get this right. It's April, not in May. That's why we have two scenarios here. So in April, I'm going to file in May. So those people who are going to file in May, if you are not yet done it, and you're not done it correctly, this is the presentation you have to copy and do save with your pricing, with your overheads, with the non-claimable input tax, all these additions. Then when you are filing, you gross it up. Now the grossing up will be 3%, so it's 3 over 103 times the total amount, what is the selling price, what you have sold to them, then you get the money back. So you end up arriving at 129.25. This is your actual sales plus your margin, and then before you apply the 3%, which you charge on the product. So this comes to the end of the first scenario, which was applicable up to January to April 2021. 2021 April. Now in May, we are in May. Let's look at the scenario 2, which is 4% using current rate from 1st of May. I think it has been clearly stated, 1st of May. This came as a result of the new legislation, which introduced a COVID levy fund, which I think Gem Finance posted on the site, on the platform, for you to know where the 4% is coming from. It is coming from the budget. It is coming as a result of the tax law. So this one is not a matter of I wish it's 3% again. I wish I maintain at 3%. No, what does the law says? That's the relevant. So those of us who are going to file in June, May returns in June, take a very important notice of this, that this will be a reminder for you to apply the 4%. So if you have not started applying it, the Revenue Authority will come after you. If you apply only 3%, it means you are in default of 1%. So the information you are getting from here, from 1st of May going until a new amendment also comes. This is what is applicable as far as retailers, wholesalers, businesses are concerned under the VAT flat rate scheme. So the same approach and presentation, the only difference is the rate, which have changed. So if you follow through, you will see that we have the VAT, we have the composition of 18.5. I know somebody will ask question about 18.5. I'll be telling where we arrive at the 18.5 instead of 17.5. Because the NHIS has also added the COVID relief fund. COVID relief fund. You know, it has been indicated clearly that VAT plus NHIS has been included with COVID. So COVID plus NHI are together. Instead of 2.5, it's now 3.5 because of 1% addition. And this is by law. It's not by your wish. It's not by my wish. It's not by my desire or your desire. No business person will take delight in any additional taxes that you want to suffer. But we take delight in getting profit, doing what is right, and getting return of our investment. Are you getting it? So we have the information there, which gives us 118.80, and we add all together. Then we have value added. The value added, we have paid the value addition at only 10% across board. So 10% of the total amount will give us 11.85. That will give us 11.85. And then we also have the input. And the input. I think we are getting this thing. We are exhausting our time available, so we have to run faster. I think I'm also having a challenge with my electricity and the power outage. So I have to run fast and then move to the next session. So let's move on and then see where we are also making progress with our filings. Hello, Jemima. Sorry. Yes. So we have a situation analysis. This situation analysis, in fact, it involves a separate supply of goods. There are separate supply of goods situation where we have supply of services and the supply of goods together. The question is, do you apply the appropriate rate? Do you apply the appropriate standard? Do you conform to the Act 948 as it applies in situation involving supply of goods and services? There are people who have mix of supply. Mix of supply, I mean that probably you are in the ambit of a manufacturer, and then you have a wholesaler, you have a key distributor, you have other people who are involved in the chain, maybe under your control, if I should put it. If it's under your control, and then it involves an agent and a commission earners. It involves an agent and a commission earners. Commission earners who have registered as individuals, entities, like maybe a retailer or a wholesaler. Or you have registered as a person who is an agent. That is your business, not within the business. If you are within the business, that means you are not part of what we are talking about. You are not supposed to charge the VAT to any other person whom you are mediating as an agent. But if you are a separate entity, like you are registered with the Registrar General of Company, and you are entitled to commission and profit and all those things, those people will come under the standard rate scheme. Under the standard rate scheme. Under the standard scheme. So we will move on, looking at the situation analysis, yes. Now, we are looking at accounting and bookkeeping requirements. It is mandatory per Act. Even 2013, and then Act 2017, Act 870, amended Act 948, it's a mandatory requirement. You are supposed to keep records of all the invoices, all the supplies you make to parties involved in your chain of distribution or business activity. For instance, you can even take goods for yourself and consume it. You have to invoice it. At the end of the day, you have to know the destination of the product, where it is moving to or it's going to. Then we also look at a situation where you will also go and buy invoice, VAT invoice. A lot of people are in default. They are not doing the right thing, so GRA is coming after them. The Domestic Tax Revenue Division has the mandate to follow up and make sure that the proper thing is done. And then you file your return accordingly. So how can you file your return? Unless there is an invoice from GRA, VAT invoice, VAT invoice. It starts with VAT invoice. You go, after you've done your registration, they will issue to you a VAT invoice. And then the VAT invoice is not any other VAT invoice, but the flat rate, the applicable one, which is previously 3%, now in May, effective 1st of May, 4%. So if the 4% is not yet available, you can still continue with your 3% invoices if you are not exhausted it. By law, it is mandatory for you to return it to the office and get a new. But we know they can't take just a month to complete a new booklet as invoice to be issued to the public. Sure. So we have to file our returns, output and input information, which is required. Your output information is the most relevant. Is the most relevant. Output information is the most relevant. So output information is what we have actually done under the scenario 1 and 2 regarding your sales. That is your output information. So whatever you sell on the standard rate form, you have to fill that section. That will be a total sum, the value of goods supplied from 1st of May to end of May. Then you apply the appropriate rate of 4%. It's not adding some, removing some. There are conditions that apply if you want to make an adjustment to your records. But so far as the records are concerned, everything that you have documented unless it is cancelled as a result of not having the right kind of goods or making a wrong entries in the invoices, not writing it properly, that you cancel, you have to retain that thing until there is a check on you. So it is mandatory for everyone who is under VAT flat rate scheme to make sure that every month, once you have registered with them, go and file your returns with GRA within your district where your office, your tax office is located. And we know the input section is all about your purchases. The purchases where we display, according to the information, was all the amounts that has the cost composition added. That had the cost composition added. So significantly, what you have to understand from this point is that you are supposed to use that information as information available to you at the time of filing your return. If you have not received that information, it's better you let the space not fill. So your registration with the Domestic Tax Revenue Division in your district, wherever you site your business, there's a location for them. You can just walk in there, just take the necessary advice, get the necessary information, then you move on with it. Thank you very much, as we welcome questions and the contributions and comments per our discussion. So it is very important to know and understand this indirect tax, which is VAT, as it applies to wholesalers and retailers who constitute the majority in the supply chain. So don't deny yourself of valuable information relating to compliance and filing of your returns as the law demands. Thank you very much for your kind attention and courtesies.
Thank you very much, Boama, for the presentation. Very detailed and very plain. I followed from beginning till the end. Please, if you have any question, you can drop it in the chat box. I already have some questions that other people had sent ahead of today's presentation. So I'll quickly go through that whilst we wait for others to send their questions. So Boama, the first question is, I'm a wholesaler. When I started my operations, I went to the GRA, the nearest GRA office, and I registered with them. They gave me an allocated amount that I have to pay on a quarterly basis for last year, which I have been paying. My question is, the money I have been paying to GRA, is it VAT or it's another tax? And if it's another tax, since I'm in the wholesale business, do I have to register for VAT now?
Right. Yeah, Jemima, thank you very much. Yes, thank you very much for the question. It's very interesting. The most important thing, I wish I had known what was the content, the form that the assessment was raised. Significantly, we look at VAT. VAT, we don't assess VAT. We only assess corporate tax or personal income tax. Now, looking at the scenario here, the person says he went to a GTRC revenue office, and then he was assessed. They will never assess you on VAT unless they account for verification to confirm that your records does not comply with what they have verified. That is where they will ask you to pay the difference, and then they will surcharge you for failing to keep proper books of records. But so far as your question is concerned, I think the participant is within the category of, as a wholesaler or a wholesaler, he is paying CIT. If it's a limited liability, if you place a limited liability, he pays CIT, which is company income tax or corporate income tax. That one is assessed yearly, and you pay on quarterly basis. So anything that is attributed to quarterly basis per assessment is within the category of a PIT, which is personal income tax, or CIT, which is corporate income tax, not VAT. I don't know whether I'm clear.
Yes, it's clear. It's clear
Yeah.
now. Okay, then the second question is, okay, I used to go to my local tax office, which used to be called Medium Tax Unit or MTU. I
Sure.
also used to see LTU. Has the name now evolved to Domestic Tax Revenue Division, like you mentioned?
So a very, very important question. I thank you for the question. I think if you look at the Ghana Revenue Authority, if you look at the VAT filing form, I think those on the platform have been filing their returns. If not, the chance to look at the form that they are intended to fill in case they register with them for VAT purpose. So on the VAT form, you see category of businesses. They've indicated LTO, that's the large taxpayer. They indicated STO, that's a small taxpayer. And then they also indicated MTO, medium tax. So LTO, MTO, STO. It depends on the category and then the revenue and the status of your company or your business that you've registered, that they will put you in there. So the Division Revenue Authority, DTRD, where the person went, if they are giving this information to you, then you ask yourself, is it about VAT? If it's about VAT, then let me go and refer to my return form. It is detailed and it is clear there. Unless maybe you don't know whether you are an STO, you are an MTO, you are an LTO. So let's get a lot of information about all this important information so that at least when you go there, you know a clear distinction between what VAT is and even within the VAT, which category are we? Are we an LTO, large taxpayer? Are you an MTO, medium taxpayer? Are you an STO, small taxpayer? So we normally begin. It's always advisable to see and then relate with Gem Finance. Gem Finance will give you the update. You will always search and tell you the fact. He will never lie to you. He will make sure that you get and query a lot of information you want to put it on the platform because you want people to do what is right and you want you to get the right money and make a successful business. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you, Isaac. So we have our first question in the chat coming from Anita.
Okay.
Anita is a retailer and sells
Mhm.
products as low as 20 pesos. How
Okay.
relevant is a VAT invoice to my business? Do I need to issue VAT invoices for such small values, or what options do I have?
Sure. I think very, very important. I think he's considering the registration requirement. The question is, when we started, we mentioned who qualifies to register. Everybody qualifies. Initially, it starts with 90,000, and then it's moved to 35,000 and 120,000. But by the Amendment Act, anyone who want to intend to supply any hazardous goods or activity and receive a consideration. That's what there are categories. We have retailer and wholesaler. So definitely you fall within the ambit of retail. And we define retail clearly. Whether you are small, whatever your category is, you still have to register with the VAT and make sure that you do what is right. Or else you still talk to Gem Finance for consultancy purposes. They will advise accordingly, looking at the size. You know, there are instances where they will give you, for instance, they will exercise some discretion depending on what you earn. What you earn at the end of the month, not as pertain to what you sell. If you tell them that this is what I'm selling, this is what I'm selling, then they will tell you, fine, register for VAT. Maybe in a month or two, a year's time, you may be graduating and then you may qualify to file your return and then you pay the necessary VAT to them because you have to charge. Because I understand their concerns. 20%. 20% could be a margin. 20% will be the cost. 20% could be the selling price. But the question is, you are supposed to charge the 20%, the 20 pesos, 4%. If it's per unit, 4%. Add the 4%. Then the 4% you multiply, you add it to it, then it's sell to the final consumer. I hope I'm clear.
Yes, you are clear. And Isaac, if you could clarify that. So for that 20 peso sales, is she supposed to issue a VAT invoice?
Yes, the 20% sales, I think he's not clear with the quantities. How much is he getting? Is he realizing? You have to realize, maybe his challenge or her challenge is that the margin is too small or the price, that is not. So far as within the ambit or within the category of a retailer or wholesaler, you are mandated to register with GNRA. You see, some of these things people are thinking of. I'm going to pay something to GNRA, but there are some benefits. There are some benefits that you'll be entitled to. Some of them I can just mention to you that at a point they will look at you and say that, oh, because you have been able to do the right thing, probably if they are assessing you on the PIT or personal income tax, they can just bring some consideration because they will see that your chargeable income per your returns is so small, and therefore there will be a consideration if you raise an objection to that. So it's better when you fall within the law. That's why I'm saying that every business person doesn't want any increase. Any increment that will affect returns, they will not. But anything that will actually help them to earn more and do better, they will be happy with it. So let's see how we make ourselves happy and make the government happy as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think Bruce's hand is up. Bruce, if you can hear us, you can come with your question. Okay, so whilst waiting for Bruce, there's another question from Jacob. What is the date range for filing, in this case, VAT taxes? Does the date stay the same or does it change every year? Does the government send any document for you to use for filing your taxes? For filing VAT, yeah.
It's a VAT, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jemima. Thank you for the question. Thank you, Bruce. I think it's very interesting to know that some of these things, when there's a new development, so far as amendment is concerned, everybody is on the lookout to see if you are doing the right thing. Yes, currently it still remains the same. Filing VAT is 1 month in arrears. For instance, in January, you file the VAT returns, all the activities that you engage in to realize your income or your sales. In the month of January, will be filed in February. This is 1 month in arrears, so that they will give you room for you to make amendments where there are returns of goods, where there are damages, where there are certain considerations, where there are maybe partial supply of your goods, where you have given, the person has given an advance and he has not taken all the goods and you have invoiced him, but all the goods are not available today. You see, these are some of the challenges. So the government says that, okay, then let the person wait till 1 month. So in January, if I sell, I will make sure I'll go and file in the month of February. 1st of February to the end of February. That is the closing date. So anytime after January, 1st of February, you can file. If you think you have made a necessary correction and adjustment to your record, you can file. If you think you have anything to do, you can also make sure you do it before the end of the month of February. For instance, in the month of May, those people who have not paid, who have not filed for the month of April, May is catching up. May is ending. Today is 16th. You have barely 14 or 15 days to end the month. So if you wait till the end of the month and you say, I'm going to file in 1st of June, then interest and surcharges will apply. Yes, and then another thing is the form. There is a form, yes. If you go to the DTRD office, the Domestic Tax Revenue, or say GNRA office, they will make them available to you. On the website, I think Gem Finance can help and then guide you after this program. And if you consult her, you will do the best you can to make sure you get you the necessary filing papers that is available for you to do your filings, if I should put it that way. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So for the purposes of our timing, we will have to take this last question. If you have any other question, you can drop it in the chat. Isaac is here. I'm also here. We'll address it even after the call. So Isaac, in your presentation, you made mention of the fact that this new VAT covers even those who are into hawking, like the whole supply chain. So our question here is, I'm into online business.
Sure.
I sell purely online. I don't have a physical location. But what I do is wholesaling. Am I obliged to register for VAT and to also file?
Thank you, Jemima. Thank you, Jemima. It's true. If you look at the category, we are emphasizing on retail and wholesale. And with the new technology in place, marketing is taking a different dimension. If you look at the supply chain now, a lot of people don't have physical locations. They always operate on the platform of social media. And then they are registered. They have names tagged to them. At international level, we know that those who are selling like Alibaba.com, I think it's very familiar. Alibaba, they all have their listing there. So that one, they also file returns. You have to file your return. So don't wait for the GRA people to come after you. Because if you're a good citizen and then you want to be compliant with your business and tax laws, it's very significant that once you say I fall within this category, it's not an excuse to dodge or to avoid, because tax evasion, tax avoidance, all amount to penalty at a point in time. So I'm doing online business. The question is, how much do you realize? And finally, for your information, what's coming up? The GRA is now working on a TIN number, and now the TIN number has been developed to the level that they are using our national ID. And the significant what is going to happen now is that they can track every single information about you so far as you are doing banking, you are depositing with the bank, or you have a transaction with any network company. They can get in hold of you. So don't wait till those things comes up for them to call you to their office. So just do the right thing and get a form and file your return. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Isaac, and thank you all for joining this session. We are very grateful. We went above our time by 4 minutes. Pardon us for that. Even after this call, we are available. The recording will be made available to you. We'll send it via WhatsApp. If you want an email, you can also drop your email address in the chat box. Let's continue with the daily finance tips. Interesting topics coming up the month of May and the subsequent months as well. And trust me, we'll still have our resource persons coming on our monthly practical sessions. Thank you very much and enjoy the rest of the evening.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Bye, Jemima.
Thanks for joining.
Thank you for your time.